Okay. So you have experience with both front end and back end, right?
Yes, not
Okay.
that much in Golang. I am learning Golang currently, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
will surely catch up.
Okay, okay. If you to get started, Meshery CTL is a great place to start with Golang contributions, and there are always issues open. So check them out if you haven't already. Thank you for introducing Pratik. And I guess Yash Gupta, is this your first time as well?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yash Gupta. I have done a few internships. Currently, I'm doing internship at Smallcase, which is the Indian startup. I'm looking forward. I actually listen very great about this community, very good things about this. So that's why to experience that particular good thing, I am started contributing in that. Looking forward to uh, build some more UI and code more in UI part. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I hope that whoever told you whatever about the community, we stand up to those standards. Uh, Thank you for
Yeah, yeah,
introducing.
definitely. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I guess this is all with the introductions. If I missed someone, please introduce yourself in the chat. Most probably I did not miss, I think. And we can get started. Before I get started, I just wanted to ask. There's a topic missing here, I guess. Arunima, did you have a topic, or Dipesha, did you have a topic? I mean, I saw a message in the Slack that one of you had a topic. So would you like to add it here?
No, I am mainly working on the front end side, so I didn't have any topic. I have not yet even explored the Meshery. I'm mainly working on the front end side, so as of now, I don't have any topics. So, Deepsha, do you have any?
Yeah, I actually am. Lee told me to work on the integrations, so to automate all of the spreadsheet into the website. So I honestly don't have any updates as of now because I just got it, but I'm just joining to understand how things work. So yeah, that's why I joined.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Since Lee is not on the call, so and I also do not have much of a context. If you have any link regarding that issue, if that's opened.
Yeah. So, the Meshery integration spreadsheet that we have of around 500 rows. Yeah, that one. So we need to bring the features, all three features, onto the website of Layer 5. So I
Okay,
need to build a GitHub workflow for that. So
okay.
he told me to work on that, and he said I could join these meetings to, get a better understanding of how things work. So yeah, that's why I joined.
Is there already an issue open for this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And this would be, if there were to be an issue, it would be in Meshery website repo, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, he told me to join this because of the GitHub workflow thing. I think that's the
Okay,
main.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Okay, so we'll create a issue so that we can track this, and then
Mhm.
maybe by the next call we'll have something in our hands, something solid to discuss upon that. So yeah, just to give a little bit of context to other people. So this is an integrations spreadsheet, the where we actually this is a source of truth for all the cloud native things that we would be able to manage. So currently, if you open Meshery, you see things like you see components, and just to tell you what these components are, if I open Meshery Playground, you can also open this if you want to. Playground is open, although there are a few things that are being actively worked on, so there might be some hiccups here and there. But just to tell you what I mean when I say the word components and what is this spreadsheet, it's important to give a little bit of context. Uh, Wait a second. Okay, yeah. So we used to support only things from the adapters, like we have istio adapter, traffic mesh adapter, and if I go over to the components, we in a playground environment we do not run an adapter, so you only see a core component this application, and Kubernetes component. So component basically means a particular unit of your infrastructure. It can be a cluster thing like cluster role, config map, cron job, deployment, etc., etc. And these Kubernetes components are the components that come pre-packaged with a Kubernetes cluster. And these things, as you can see right now, I'm not connected to a cluster. Meshery pre-packages some of the components. So even if you do not have an actively running cluster, if you do have an actively running cluster, it would go ahead and query the kube API server and generate the components for you and put them here for you to come over here and start filling these forms and design. And if you don't already, so for those folks, we pre-package these things. So right now we only have these from Kubernetes and for core, but these core and Kubernetes things that you see over here, they correspond to project name that you see over here. Not actually project name, but um, those are subsets of project names. So for example, as we integrate every component, and the spreadsheet is actually scraped from I guess yeah, it's scraped from Artifact Hub. So we go to the Artifact Hub and there are all the cloud native projects and there are Helm charts available there. So we scrape all of that and we fill the spreadsheet. And so there are two things. One is what Dipesha talked about. I think I'm mispronouncing a name, but anyways, I'll go with that. So here we are also maintaining things like feature 1, feature 2, feature 3. These features are to be included on the front-facing Meshery.io website, so that people can know what are all the integrations that we have. So for example, people should know that you can use Meshmap, which is one of the offerings of Meshery, and not just Meshmap. Meshery also has a design configurator, which is outside of Meshmap. In the playground, we have disabled it, but here, if you have Meshery running in a cluster or in your local machine, you can go over and play with that design configurator. So we would be supporting all these components. So you can have your Argo deployments and you can design them and do something with them. So we want to tell people that we do that. So the right part of the spreadsheet is mainly about having those things in the layer 5's integration pages on the website, so that people know that these features exist. So there is already a GitHub workflow, which I will be talking about as my first agenda item. So I think this is a good segue to go into that. So I just merged this pull request. I'm not going to click on files changed because this will kind of freeze my system. 3,000 almost files changed. So I'll just go to the workflow that has been added. So the workflow is this one. So there's already, I see an integration updater. Okay, so this integration updater is most probably this, yeah. So this integration updater, it dumps the result onto the spreadsheet. So it does its scraping and all, and after it doing that, it dumps the result onto the spreadsheet. And then using the spreadsheet, we actually generate those components, and that workflow is already present over here. It was recently added, I guess. If I'm not missing its name, it was generator. Yeah, this one. So it runs on a dispatch call, or every 24 hours. It generates those components and adds those. So here you can see the link to the spreadsheet, and this is linked to this spreadsheet. So it uses this spreadsheet as a source of truth for generating these components. And you can see where these components are in the Meshery repository. If you'll go over in the, if you will go over in the inside of server, inside of output, you can see like all of these things are available over here. And the way you see them over here is the exact same way you would be able to see them over in Meshmap after UI starts supporting them. So basically, like you would be seeing something like so I should actually open this. So you should be seeing something like if you want to configure AWS things, so you would be seeing something like in like core Kubernetes and then AWS, and then inside of AWS, you would be seeing things like these versions, and then inside of these versions, and like inside of Kubernetes, you right now you can filter with versions. We have only one Kubernetes versions available in the playground environment right now. So yeah, so you would be able to filter. So one workflow actually does all that, fills the spreadsheet and also sources the spreadsheet to put these components inside of Meshery repository. And these components are then loaded at the time when Meshery boots up, and these are loaded into the database. That was one part. And then the other part, which Dipesha talked about. So that would be actively worked upon, so that while front-end people use those components to show up in the designer, other front-end people can advertise that we actually do that. So yeah, that was actually my first item, the updates in component mesh model workflow. The workflow is not being triggered
Ashish,
every 24 hours. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Is there any reference that I can start off with to work on this issue, because it's my first time? So
Yeah,
I just wanted to ask you if there's anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, like actually initially we were going to use Make for this, and
Yeah. Aditya
is that,
Chatterjee was going to do that.
yeah.
Mm.
So is the current approach with Make or some
No,
other approach you're
no,
using?
through a YAML file, GitHub workflow only.
Okay, through GitHub workflows.
Mm.
So, okay, so what kind of format? Because I'm not aware at no what kind of formats of. Okay, I think the first thing can be that the the tool for scraping. So you would have to scrape this spreadsheet, and the second, so first step would be to scrape this spreadsheet for feature 1, feature 2, and feature 3. There is already one script inside of Meshery repository which does something similar inside of, if you'll go inside of scripts, there are component generation and component updation. The component updation function actually goes and scrapes these things, but its function is quite different.
Okay.
If there is already, first thing you can look up if there is already a GitHub action that takes a CSV file, and and we can give it like what feature, like the column name. So
Yeah.
here column name would be feature 1, feature 2, feature 3. If there already exists a GitHub action which takes feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 and produces these and outputs the all of these things, like maybe in a JSON format, where key can be the project name or Helm chart name, and then the value can be inside of JSON feature 1, and then the value feature 2,
Right.
then the value. If something like that exists, then half of the work is done. If something like that doesn't exist, then your first job would be to ask people in the Meshery channel to create something like that. Most probably I'll take it or someone else will take it, and this would be a very short method, very short thing to write. And then what you can do is to start try. Have you written GitHub workflows before?
No, that's what I was thinking. So the main thing I think is just converting it to Markdown, because we just need to
Yeah.
make Markdown files for that. So yeah, like uh, I think that should be my first Google search, right? Like something like a GitHub workflow to convert CSV into a Markdown, something like that. Will
Yeah,
that
yeah.
get me started? Like something.
Uh, okay, so we do something similar in our current workflow. So one of the workflow which actually what it actually does is that it actually, let me show you that workflow. It
Yeah.
actually generates something like Markdown, and so
Excuse me. Mm.
for- it is in adapters. So each adapter has a workflow which gets triggered every 24 hours. For example, in Istio adapter, it checks for latest version of that service mesh, and for that latest version, it generates components, and then it generates a markdown, and then it commits that markdown in the Meshery repository. I think it is in here. But here also, what happens is that there are three jobs. So first job is completely related to creating a design or a pattern file which is used at the time of the deployment. This is pattern file is an internal representation of Meshery. So this is irrelevant to you. The second thing which happens is this particular job which actually runs that. This is also almost irrelevant, but here what happens is that we output first things in the JSON format, and then we use like things from this JSON format in the next job, which is the update docs. And here there are a bunch of bash scripts which actually do something similar. They extract data from the JSON file, and then they add some things to it, and then this echo field, whatever you're seeing over here, this is a complete markdown. They
Right.
generate this markdown, and then they push this markdown, and they commit this markdown.
Mm.
So I think most probably what it's going to look like is there would be one job whose job would be just to produce a JSON file, JSON,
Yeah.
which will have something like in key it will have project name, in value it will have feature 1, and then the value of feature 1, feature 2, and then with that JSON format that I said. So first you can ask people to give you that JSON. By asking people means that to create a tool that does that, a tool that goes to this particular. If that tool doesn't already exist, it will be quick to make. So what that tool will do, it will just generate JSON. So your
Yeah.
job would be to take that tool and to run as part of the first job, run that tool, and as the output comes, in the second job, you would have to write some of these bash scripts to extract. So you can use JQ. JQ can be used to extract data from that JSON file, and then you can parse that in a certain way, and then from that JSON file, like you can create this. You can create this kind of a markdown file.
Okay.
So right now will all of that would be in the same markdown or different markdowns? What's the proposal?
For every row, you'll have a different markdown. From what I
Okay.
know, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that can also be done. So here you'll have some kind of a for loop over here. So you would need help from someone who has worked with the bash scripts and GitHub workflows over here. So you can help structure things. While if you, I think Hamza has already worked on some of these things. And other than Hamza, if Subedi is Subedi active in the community these days? Aditya Subedi,
I
do you know him?
haven't seen him around, but I'm not sure. I haven't
Okay.
seen him around, yeah.
Okay. You can ask in the Meshery channel about yeah, help with the markdowns, and because I took his name because he mainly worked on these things, and he is actually he knows his ways around here. Most of the code changes over in the markdown step is done by him. So just to brief you, there would be two steps. If you're not using Make in the GitHub workflows, there would be two steps involved. First is the creation of that JSON, and second is the creation of that markdown. Unless we create a tool, I mean, create a tool means write it in Golang, which will be custom to us, which will by default produce a markdown. So one thing what you can do is you can give me a structure of what markdown you're looking for. Like what's the heading and what should it look like, and where what thing corresponds to what. So for example, you can say that in that markdown, sorry, in that
We
markdown you can
already
say,
have markdown files for it, by the way. A few of the
uh,
integrations do have markdowns already.
can you point me to them? Where are they?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share you a link.
Okay, so I'll look at those markdown, and then yeah, one possible way would be to write a small tool in Golang that actually, instead of producing JSON, it just directly produces that particular bunch of markdowns. And all you would need to do in that case is, once that tool is created, you just run that tool. So for example, one of the examples of that thing where we just run a tool and it does a thing is the thing that I just showed inside of workflows. There is a particular workflow which is generator workflow. It would be something like that. Maybe integrations updater work, or we already have that. Maybe something else can be a name. There is a generator workflow which, if you look at the generator workflow, what it does is that it checks out Meshery's code, it sets up Go, and then it just runs a Go. Basically, it just goes into a particular Go package that we have, and then it just compiles the main. I mean, it compiles main.go along with whatever things that particular package imports. It basically runs this command. So this would be, if we have that tool inside of Golang, then it would be a single command, and things would be done. So basically, there are two proposals. One thing that you can do is write these things out in the in a small section, and then propose them in the CI channel and see what people say. So the first proposal would be, should we write a tool that creates a JSON out of spreadsheet, and then in the second step we create a markdown out of that JSON? Or should we, the second way would be, should we create a tool that understands what the markdown is supposed to look like from UI? Have you already shared the link?
Yeah, I shared the link in the chat.
Okay, so this is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Title, subtitle, integrations. Yeah, I think it is doable, very doable from the Golang side as well. I can easily produce a markdown that looks like this. So yeah, the second proposal, you can write that down there, that the second proposal is to and also link this particular markdown file, that in the scripts directory that I just showed to you, there is component generator, component updater, then there can be something like this, which is component, I guess, webs layer 5 something updater or something like that. Or maybe this function can come over here, but since we don't have Golang things here, so maybe there. But what will happen is that we'll run a script there, and that script will commit over here, will commit on the layer 5 repository, maybe every. So this also has to be updated every 24 hours, right?
No, I don't think so. Did he say 24 hours?
I mean, actually, or maybe we would need some other trigger as well.
Yeah, 24. Yeah, every 24 hours, I think.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
He said around 3 versions we'll make, 24 hours, then 12 hours, and then after that, every time we make a change to the spreadsheet.
Yeah, yeah,
think he
that
said
that
yeah.
every time that we make a change to the spreadsheet for that, if there is already I don't know what trigger there can be. If there is already a webhook, I'll look into that and I'll
Yeah,
but
we
in the
don't
first,
need that right now
yeah,
because I mean, anyways, we're still filling the sheet, right? So we
yeah.
don't need that right now. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay. So we would need something like that triggers every 24 hours. And
yeah, something like that. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll go through some of this material and I'll get back to you on this if that's fine.
yeah, it would be nice if you if you paste whatever your findings or proposals are in the Meshery CI channel,
Okay,
and from there we'll take this up.
sure. Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next item is Hamza. So Hamza, you there, right?
Yes, I'm present.
Would like to share your screen?
Sure. Yes, so this issue is about making is adding a sample up to our end-to-end test. I see there are many new faces here, so I will just give you a quick recap of these end-to-end tests and how they work. Basically, for every adapter, there is a GitHub Actions file with jobs in there that, first of all, whenever someone makes a pull request or a release is made or a pull request is made, so we run these tests to see that nothing is breaking. Inside the test, we just basically install the adapter, and then we test for the expected Kubernetes resources, mainly the pods for now. So we test that every pod that is expected to come up has actually been booted. So yeah, and now for Linkerd, there is an effort to add a sample up to every adapter test. So for Istio, we use bookinfo the bookinfo sample app that ships with the Istio. And then for Linkerd, we are using the emoji photo app. So what I did was to try and add the sample app, but then the tests were failing because inside deploy.yaml, let me just open it in my exam. Yeah, inside here, we have to add a version, a Linkerd version, and it's added dynamically, like on the go when the job is running. But then the test was failing because this step was not getting executed. This step was failing over here. Yeah, and this was because we do it manually for this particular workflow, the one for Linkerd. This script tries to get the latest release version, but then for Istio, it is done automatically. Okay, not automatically, but we use a job, like someone made a job.
Are we only using that action in Istio and all other places we are doing it manually, or is that the exception or the norm?
I think we're also using it in console.
Okay. So after this, please make sure that we use this particular action to retrieve the latest version instead of doing it ourselves.
Okay, so yeah, like you see here, this is the GitHub action we are using. So it takes in a repository and yeah, it outputs the release, like you see here, steps.getTag.outputs.release. So it's what I was trying to add, but then yeah, it's kind of the link at the system.
Actually,
Yeah.
if you'll scroll up on the logs, there is one interesting log over there which says just a little bit more. I guess in the adapter logs, if you check adapter logs, that step. Yeah, most probably because the first thing to do is to check if the pattern file was deployed and it says installing. So yeah, here you'll see that here you'll see the error. The Linkerd2 version 22.12.1 not found. So what happened was this is most probably a Helm thing. So Helm has an app version and a chart version, and these two things are different. And when we go and it gets confusing sometimes because usually when people install a chart, usually they give app version. So the job that we used actually might have retrieved an app version, and here when we try to install it, it might have used a chart version. But that's again a non-issue. What's actually can be another issue is the usage of edge hyphen 22.12.1. Or so for example here in the logs, Hamza, it says 22.12.1. uh, can you go to this particular can you click on this link, the http, the chart, the link to the Helm chart? Yeah, can you click on this? And can you click on add index.yaml to the suffix of this particular URI? Helm.linkerd.io / yeah, just take this and just add index.yaml so that you land on the index.yaml of their Helm chart. I just wanted to check that whether this particular version exists in this chart or not, because that's what the error is saying. Yeah, so either this is a adapter bug, some bug in the adapter, or this is a bug where the version that we retrieve does not match the version that we try to install. You just have to add / after the edge at the end. Yeah, index.yaml. Most probably it will be either downloaded or yeah, it was downloaded. Can you open that file that was just downloaded? Okay, so what version in the logs, what version was it trying to install? If you go back in the logs. Yeah, can you search? Can you search for this version
in the YAML file?
Yeah, in the YAML file, whether this version exists in the YAML file or not.
Yeah, it's over here.
Okay, it exists as an app version. Can you look for the chart version of this particular? If you scroll down a little, yeah, if you'll just click on that. Okay, the bunch of okay. This is can you go back up, because this is a different chart. This is Linkerd Jaeger. We were first looking on. Okay, this is Linkerd control plane, and can you go through all of them? Vertical cluster. Yeah, so these are add-ons. Linkerd to CNI. Okay, is this the last one?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go back to the log, I think can you go back to the log? It says that it tries to look for the chart name Linkerd2 in the quotes, but if you go to the index.yaml, you would not find that you will not find any chart with the name Linkerd2. Actually, there is a Linkerd -control -plane. So most probably this has to be fixed from the adapter. So will you create an issue, and in the issue you'll say that not able to install Linkerd because the chart says Linkerd -control -plane, and the Linkerd2 chart, any chart with the name Linkerd2 does not exist. So here, if you just search for Linkerd2 : can you search for Linkerd2 and then add colon at the end to see if any chart exists with the name Linkerd2 and colon? Okay, there is one, but if you look at the version, does the version match?
No, this is 21.1.2. Yeah.
And can you go to the app, the version, the chart version for this thing? This is the app version. Actually, yeah. If you'll scroll a little on this YAML and go to the wait, yeah, slowly, you can go up again. Here, the version, here is a discrepancy. On line number 7396, you can see the app version is specified as edge hyphen 21.12.2, and the chart version is specified at line number 7421, which is 21.12.3. So here the chart version is different and the app version is different. What ends up happening is that we look for okay, yeah, that's a bug. That's a bug. The bug is that it tries to look for the chart version, which is the same as the app version. But here the chart version diverges. So this has to be fixed from the. There is some problem with the backend logic. We'll have to see how to manage these Helm installations where the app version is different and the chart version is different. And most probably, most probably this is adapter bug. So will you file an issue for this? And once you file an issue for this, I think from your side you're almost done. So I would suggest that the change that you just made about the change that you made about that changing that using the new GitHub action, put that in another PR, create these PRs across console and across other like Linkerd where that change does not exist, and let's merge that because we need that, because at least that way we will actually reach this step where tests are failing and not just pattern is not deploying because the version is not present. So let's first fix this and also file an issue, and I'll get back to this thing and I'll solve this by today or maybe tomorrow. And yeah, this can be considered an adapter bug rather some problem with your um, with your PR.
Yeah, I already have this PR here. The one to change I just need to propagate it across the rest of the adapters.
Okay.
Yeah, this one.
And this PR does just that one thing, right?
Mm.
Okay. Okay, it looks good to me over here. Okay. What? Okay. One more thing before you create an issue, just to make sure that okay, you know what? Just create the issue. I'll go after that. So create the issue in Linkerd. Have you encountered this bug anywhere else as well, or is this a Linkerd thing?
It's only in Linkerd. Let me check down for console.
The easiest way is to go to compatibility matrix. Can you go to the compatibility matrix? So all these tests are actually used to fill like the markdown that I was just showing, the markdown that is created, it goes to the compatibility matrix. If you can just open I'm talking about the website. I'll share my screen.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So yeah, this is on the docs.meshery.io. So the test that we run and the markdown that is generated from those tests is actually used to fill these fields. So as I can see, I can sort these things based upon edge channel and stable channel. Edge is basically edge, which is the master branch, and stable is when we make a release. So as I can see for edge, all tests for traffic mesh are passing. OSM is okay. Linkerd is failing, as Hamza pointed out, and this would be fixed by the issue. So this is basically the reason why we have a spreadsheet. The bug that exists, the potential bug that exists in the adapter was actually caught already over here. You can see this red thing. It basically means there is something wrong, go fix it. And this yellow thing means that some tests passed and some tests failed. Actually, the logic that we have for this thing was added initially, and then it was supposed to change. So yellow means that some tests are passing and some are failing. That should what it means. So for example, here 2 pods are um, passing, so it should be green because both of them are passing. There is no such thing as a partial pass. So either the pod named console client is there or not, a pod named console server is there or not. But here I think what the logic is on the UI side. So if someone can make a note of this, then this has to be changed in the documentation page, that the logic where we actually yellow these things out, just to check that the logic shouldn't be like you go to all the past results and based upon past results. I mean, I don't right now I don't understand what the logic over here is. So yeah, that I'll write it down in the meeting minutes, and someone from front end can can check this out, that what's the logic to yellow these things out. Because, for example, if these two pods are succeeding, then this should be green, but that's kind of a false negative. So, I'll add it myself. And I'll tag someone over in this talk so that they can take it. So yeah, Hamza, I guess that was about yeah, that was about your change. So the change that you already have, I'll merge it after the call. If I don't merge it within like half an hour after the call, just ping me once on Slack in case I get busy with some other things, because I think your PRs get stagnated a lot and overlooked. So I think they should be merged as quickly as possible. And since the change that you made is pretty straightforward and it's pretty obvious, so we don't need to squat on that. Moving on, the next one is again an update from my side, which is so yeah, I'll go over to the. So we have Meshery extensions, and usually we don't talk about these things in public calls, but since this is related to workflows and all, I think I should be able to talk. It's okay to talk about it. So we have this thing called mesh map, which is one of the Meshery extensions, and extension means that you can take Meshery and then you can plug this thing up. So there are two types of extension that we support right now. One is, so if you go over in mesh map, you see mesh map, which in itself is an extension. So here you're not able to click on this, but this is actually a logo that says the word extensions. So we have two types of extensions: UI extensions, where you can use, where you can have your different React applications, and then I mean, Abhi would have been a great person to talk about this, who's the UI maintainer. So basically, we're able to. So for example, if I come over here, you'll be able to see that all of these different pages, and most of these are in, like, the way architecture is designed. These things are integrated as an extensible thing. So these are not like statically coded, but rather if we need to have, let's say, something like a profile page, this profile page exists as a UI extension. You write it as a separate UI thing, and then you plug it in using extensions, using capabilities. What it allows us to do, it allows us to have different roles. So in Meshery, usually people have roles. So you have a mesh map role if you were given access to it via let's say someone. There are a bunch of ways you can get access to mesh map. You can have an admin role, you can have a user role. There are a bunch of roles, and each role, maybe for example, I can see the statistics. The reason I can see you won't be able to see the statistics because I have the admin role, so I can go over the statistics page and see who logged in and all these things. So because these things need to be shown in a very fine-grained manner, not everyone should have access to the same UI. That's the idea of having a different UI as an extension. So there is a vanilla thing, and then you add layers on top of that using extensions. And maybe I wouldn't remember the exact endpoint, but there is an endpoint, I guess, API/extensions. That's something where you can see what capabilities do you have. So all these things is to take to the next thing, which is Golang extensions. Golang also has a package where you can basically compile a Golang you can basically compile the whole Golang package as a shared object, and then you can use plugin.open, a simple call, and that plugin, I don't remember which particular plugin we're using. It's the most used Golang plugin library. So you can use that library to call that shared object to basically to statically. You have those things in C++ all the time. The shared libraries, what you call in C++ or C. Here you have you can also use shared objects that separately compiled binaries. So there are some GraphQL endpoints that we have that are separate, which are only used by this particular UI extension. So since they're only used by some particular things, they have to be integrated on on demand basis. So for that, we have this extensions repository. That was the whole context of what extensions repository is. Here you have the Golang as well as the UI code of things that are integrated externally. And then there is this for Golang extensions, there is one caveat, and the caveat is this: if you compile your extension with, let's say, some X version of Golang, you have to you have the program that is running, the actual binary that is running, which will actually import that particular shared object, has to be compiled with not only the same Golang version, but also the same version of each library. So they have to be in complete sync. So like in JavaScript, you have your package.json, in Go, you have go.mods. So if go.mods of two different uh, modules are in sync, it means they're compatible to be used as a plugin for each other. So for that, I wrote a workflow. Actually, I first wrote a particular function in meshkit. So for people who don't know what meshkit is, generally for all the utility functions that we create, that those utility functions can be used in adapter library or adapter, a bunch of places. So very generic utility functions that are to be used by all the Meshery projects, they are put in meshkit. So this is again one of those utility things. So inside of cmd, there is a sync mod util. So this is that particular mod syncing utility. There are a bunch of caveats that are already noted here, things that have been not integrated. So what this does is that it goes to your source file, it goes to your source go mod, and then it makes sure that the require statement and the replace statement all match up so that the thing doesn't break. Because if you use Meshery extension and then what have we used to happen a lot of times is that like because developers are also, they have their own workflow, so they might be on some XYZ version of Meshery extension and then ABC version of Meshery core, and then locally when they're developing, they will get a very generic error, which is package the version mismatch, and you can't load the package. To get around all those things, this so the job of this function is simple: sync those. Now the what the workflow does is that I think it's in I guess it is still not merged, I guess. Maybe it was in Meshery. Okay, now I'm not able to find where that workflow is, but most probably it was okay, it's not here, so let me check in Meshery. Okay, so the idea is that workflow, I should have added the link beforehand so that I don't have to search for that workflow. That workflow does basically the thing where it makes sure that whenever someone makes a pull request in the I think that was most, I think it was in Meshery extensions itself. So if I'll go in pull request and look at the closed PRs, most probably that was part of the closed PR. So for yeah, so this is detect go mod divergence. So whenever now someone creates a PR, what we will be doing is that we'll be making a we will be adding this thing as an extra test. So if you make a change in Meshery extensions which introduces a change in go.mod, it will actually throw an error. So we want to enforce the idea that no developer accidentally makes a change in go mod that puts it out of sync. So at all times, Meshery and Meshery extensions go mods on edge master have to always sync up. So developers can, if developers are on upstream on both the repositories, they can be sure that things won't break. So that thing was added, and before the call, I think that was also merged. And the failing E2E tests in Linkerd adapter, this was this was basically Hamza also discussed about this because he was talking about his things, and then he said why this is failing. So while I'm on this, Hamza, have you already created an issue for this? If you
I'm going to create it after the call, like immediately after the call.
Okay, as you create the issue, just also add this inside of the meeting minutes. So with each agenda, with each topic, we also have what thing was done for that. So for example, this thing was merged, and for this thing, there are some things with the compatibility matrix that we found out. So yeah, for this thing, just add the link to that issue that you create over here so that in the next call, we can start from here. So to see if a PR is created against that issue, which it should be, I mean, it should be merged by them. And maybe even your PR would be, and also just add the link to your PR as well over here in the meeting minutes. It's always good to sync up what we're discussing and what was in the meeting minutes, to go back in history to see what was being discussed that time.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Then, okay. Does anyone else have any other item? I guess Segun, you had an item, right? On the last call, I guess you picked up an item, and then I think you have an open PR as well for that, if I'm not wrong. Shane, can you hear me? I guess he might be AFK. I don't even remember the GitHub handle, but yeah, I remember there was a PR up. I don't know whether it was Merce or not. Okay, thank you, Yash, for joining the call. Okay, I guess I'm seeing the message pretty late. Okay, I guess there are two Yash. I might be getting confused. There's a Yash Gupta and Yash Sharma. Yeah, this Yash, is this your first time joining the call? Did you join late? The existing, I'm talking to the existing Yash. If this is your first time, then it would be good for you to introduce yourself in the chat. Otherwise, it's fine. So if Shegun would have responded, then we could have talked about his changes. But maybe he's having some problem with his mic or something, or maybe he's AFK for any of which reasons. There are some other issues, but I think that other thing would take up a lot more time. And the last thing was about the deployment of Meshery Playground. I wouldn't go in details about this thing, about what I just showed you Playground a bunch of times. So I did show you Playground over here. So we are working on this thing to be deployed. It's a very basic playground, and we have a playground mode for all Meshery deployments. So in that playground mode, most of the features are inaccessible except for mesh map. It is made primarily for mesh map, where people, users can, new folks don't have to, check out the repository, make for themselves. One of the easiest ways to get started with mesh map, for those of you who haven't already, is to use Docker extensions. So if you have Docker extensions already, I'll just open Docker quickly. So there you'll get this Docker also had like extensions over here. So inside of extensions, my Docker is booting up. Anyway, so in extensions, you will find Meshery. So one of the so I guess it is over here. Yeah, so you can just install Meshery from here and you'll get the same UI and everything. But for some people, some or not everyone uses Docker desktop, or so for that, the easiest way to start playing with mesh map would be playground.meshery.io. And this thing is deployed right now. The playground is deployed right now on Meshy Cloud, and there are a few things that are needed to be done. There is it's actually not deployed in Meshy Cloud; it's deployed in AKS. And Antoinette isn't here. Otherwise, I would have discussed in detail about few things that we are missing. So here there are some issues that we are facing right now. So that the current issue is that there are some WebSocket problems that I was going to discuss. So by WebSocket problem, I mean that if you go over here, you'll see that the WebSocket connections are failing, all of the WebSocket connections. And the reason for that is, the reason for failing WebSocket connection is that we are using Nginx as an ingress controller, and also as Nginx, also as ingress. So what happens is that it's very hard to configure in Nginx as an ingress to receive traffic for WebSocket. It doesn't allow us to do it directly. We can't directly go and edit the Nginx config that is inside of the pod that is running. It allows things to be passed like from annotations and all. So right now, if I can show you what's the ingress configuration that I'm using, this is the ingress configuration where basically if you look at these 4 or 5 lines, this is the set of, so basically WebSocket is built on top of HTTP, not it's like an upgraded version of HTTP. So there is a there is a request for, there is an upgrade request. If that upgrade request is like, if that succeeds, the server returns 101, which means switching protocols. And when the protocols are switched, then the HTTP is upgraded to that WebSocket. And here these headers are set to make sure that that happens. But somehow this location block, the Nginx configuration that we are sending from the ingress, is not being reflected there. And I have already asked questions in the Slack channel, in Kubernetes ingress Slack channel over here. And we would be, yeah, we are waiting for answer over here. Otherwise, we would be moving to Envoy if we don't get reply. So yeah, WebSocket is pretty broken. Or I wouldn't say broken. Maybe I haven't run into. I looked onto the docs and I didn't find any straight up solution. If someone on the call has experience with configuring Nginx ingress for WebSocket, then you're more than welcome to help on that, because yeah, as these WebSocket connections, just to give you context what these WebSocket connections are, one of these WebSocket connection is used to actually load the designs and applications. So that's why if I go into the designs or applications page, I'm seeing nothing because the WebSocket connection fails due to the ingress. And the other one would be we also have a collaboration feature. So if you're here and you're collaborate, you basically I can open another tab and two people can collaborate at the same time. So if you move your application, you drag your application, and someone else is also dragging, that would be reflected on your UI. That's why we call it Figma for DevOps. So yeah, that's pretty sweet, sweet experience. And as soon as we get through this hump, we get over the hump of this WebSocket problem, the playground will be public for everyone, and everyone can, you can share it with your friends. You can drag and drop things from here, you can play with it, and you can collaborate together. You would be seeing your icons over here just like you see on Google Docs, so it would be kind of like Google Doc experience. Yeah, so just to all of that, just to say that playground would be up most probably by next week. So yeah, this was kind of a sneak peek for people who are already here to the playground. This is not public right now. I mean, this is public. You can go and hit this URL and you can play with it. But since we haven't gotten over the ingress problem, we haven't made like a public announcement for people to come and check out these things. There are some bugs here and there to be noted. For example, we just saw these notifications, and this is also an ingress problem with the timeout problem. It will take me another 10 minutes to go over what this problem is. I don't think I should do that. We're already on top of the hour. So yeah, so for this thing, the note would be fix WebSocket to WebSocket proxy problem in Nginx ingress. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining, and I think we all have some of our we most of us have some agenda items on our hands. For those who don't, it's okay. Thank you for joining the call. Most probably you will find something in the Slack channel, and by the next call you will have something to showcase or demo. And yeah, thanks for joining. See you next week. Bye everyone. I'm
Bye.
since yeah, since I don't see all the faces, I assume that everyone is waving their hands. Bye. Yeah, I see you, Arunima. Bye.
Bye bye.